Good afternoon, I'm Jurnee Taylor. We want to begin with an update in yesterday's deadly plane crash in Little Rock. 5 people were killed just moments after the plane took off from the Little Rock airport. Now this afternoon, we now know the names of those victims. An official with CTEH has identified Sean Sweeney, Micah Kendrick, Cal Bennett, Gunter Beatty, and Glenn Marcus Walker as the 5 people aboard the twin-engine plane. According to officials, Sweeney was the pilot of the aircraft. As for the crash, here's what we do know. It happened near the 3M plant across the interstate from the airport just 2 minutes after takeoff. The victims, all CTEH employees, were on their way to help with cleanup after a deadly explosion at a metal plant in Ohio. The National Transportation Safety Board is here in Little Rock this afternoon to begin its investigation. Their preliminary report is due within 15 days. We're also waiting for the FAA to release its incident report, which could come as early as today. Now this, of course, is a developing story that our team is following closely. Team coverage continues tonight at 5 and 6 as we work to learn more about the crash and the victims. You can be sure to follow us on air and online for the very latest. Meanwhile, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is on the ground at the scene of the toxic train derailment in Ohio and meeting with frustrated residents. This morning, the National Transportation Safety Board revealed it's looking at a wheel bearing in the final stages of overheat failure just moments before the crash. Skylar Henry has more from the White House and where the Biden administration has faced criticism for not visiting sooner.
Trains continued along this busy rail corridor in East Palestine, Ohio, as Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg got his first look at the charred remains of tank cars that flew off the tracks earlier this year. The secretary noted an odor still lingering in the air.
Yeah.
11 derailed cars on that Norfolk Southern train were carrying a hazardous payload. As investigators determine the cause of the derailment, they're also looking at the car's standards.
Legacy cars that are due to be phased out, those are the cars that failed.
In its initial findings released today, the National Transportation Safety Board found the train was traveling below the 50-mile-per-hour max speed. But, quote, surveillance video from a local residence showed what appeared to be a wheel bearing in the final stage of overheat failure moments before the derailment. The Biden administration has defended its timing on a visit, saying it's appropriate now that the EPA has declared the emergency phase of the crash to be over. For residents, the concern is far from over. They're worried about damage from the toxic burn-off and wary of heavily polluted soil and creeks, like this one CBS News filmed yesterday.
I'm afraid of the chemicals coming here and the after effects, and, you don't know. You're not going to know.
A Pennsylvania congressman whose district borders East Palestine has called for the rail company to expand its zone for testing and financial assistance up to 30 miles from the site. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Environmental activist Erin Brockovich is set to visit the area tomorrow. Brockovich tweeted that she plans to work with the victims of the train derailment so that they can get justice, know their legal rights, and hold the railroad accountable.
Well, on our Thursday, we're seeing a mixture of sunny clouds, more clouds here in central Arkansas, a little more sun off to the north and west, and temperatures are all over the board. Look at this temperature difference. It's 77 in Camden, 39 in Fayetteville. We've got a cold front cutting through Arkansas, ladies and gentlemen, and the cold front is dropping its way down to the south and southeast. They're actually reporting a few sleet pellets or some snowflakes flying around in northwest Arkansas. Here in central Arkansas, there's the potential we could see maybe an isolated shower. Some locations have already hit their highs today, and I think that has been the case here in Little Rock as the front has made its way just down to our south and southeast. Monticello, though, you're going to be warming up into the mid, possibly upper 70s. Meanwhile, northwest Arkansas stuck in the 40s. And look at your feels like forecast. That cold front is going to continue to charge its way down to the south and southeast. So by Friday morning, the cold air invades all of central Arkansas, and it's going to feel like the 20s out there to begin your Friday. It is going to be a chilly end to the work week with clouds, scattered rain, and it feels like numbers probably stuck into the 30s. I'll have your weekend forecast and let you know when the warmer air will be returning coming up.
Turning now to Central Florida, where a teenager is accused of killing a 9-year-old girl and local TV news reporter 24-year-old Dylan Lyons. The Orange County Sheriff says it happened near the scene of another murder allegedly committed by the same suspect, 19-year-old Keith Melvin Moses. A photojournalist and the girl's mother were also shot. Manuel Borges has the latest from Orlando.
I apologize.
A local TV journalist was overcome with emotion covering the murder of one of their own Wednesday night outside Orlando. Spectrum News 13 says 24-year-old Dylan Lyons was killed. The Spectrum 13 reporter was engaged to be married.
I want to acknowledge what a horrible day this has been for our community and our media partners.
The deadly rampage began near a crime scene where a woman was found shot in her car earlier in the day in the Pine Hills neighborhood. Police say, for unknown reasons, the suspect returned to the scene.
Deputies located 2 men who had been shot in or near a vehicle. They are a News 13 reporter and photographer who were on the scene to cover the homicide from this morning.
The gunman then allegedly went into a nearby home and shot a mother and her 9-year-old daughter, killing the child. Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost tweeted, "My heart aches for my community and district. We've had more mass shootings than days in this year so far. This does not have to be our reality. I'm devastated." While the community searches for answers to another violent spate of gun violence in this country, police say the suspect is in custody. He's a 19-year-old with a lengthy criminal background.
This is every reporter's absolutely worst nightmare. We go home at night afraid that something like this will occur.
The sheriff says the mother of the child who was killed and the news photographer remain at this hospital in critical condition. He said the first victim, the woman who was killed in her car, was known to the suspect. What is unknown is why he allegedly returned to the scene to target the news crew and that mother and child. Manuel Borges, CBS News, Orlando.
Absolutely terrible. Well, back here in Arkansas, the Camden Fairview School District bringing in extra security today after a deadly shooting involving several students. According to a post from the district, one student was killed and another was hurt. As a precaution, more officers will be on the high school and middle school campus today. While we're working to learn more about the shooting, the district says it did not happen on school property. You can stay with THV11 and THV11.com for the very latest. Jacksonville police are searching for an armed and dangerous suspect this afternoon. Chris Manning is wanted in connection to a shooting from earlier this week. Officers responded to a call on West Main Street yesterday morning. There they found someone suffering from a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Police have already arrested another suspect, Kenesia Lewis. If you see Manning or know where he is, contact Jacksonville Police. Meanwhile, police in Conway are hoping a $2,500 reward can help bring answers to a deadly shooting last November. 25-year-old Kajayla Lawson was found dead in a car on the morning of November 21st. Police found her by Reedy Road, just south of the Conway Country Club on College Road. The reward being offered to anyone with information that leads to an arrest in Lawson's murder. If you call, you can remain anonymous. Last night, THV 11 Plus premiered a documentary looking at the investigation, conviction, and execution of Barry Lee Fairchild. In 1983, he was convicted in the murder and rape of Marjorie Mason. But more than 40 years later, there's still questions surrounding the case and Fairchild's sentence.
As important, you want to punish the right people. I mean, anyone who's anti-crime, you want to get the right guy and you want to punish that guy. And so the questions we were hearing in the newsroom from readers again and again is, are we punishing the wrong people? Because that's what we're paying for as taxpayers. And that's not very good police work.
The prosecutor's job is to seek justice, not to seek convictions. And too often that's a key thing that gets mixed up.
You can watch Sentenced to Death, the murder that unsettled Arkansas right now on THV 11 Plus. The app is free to download on Roku and Amazon Fire devices. You can also watch it on THV11.com. And on March 6th, we're showing the documentary on THV 11. You'll be able to watch it that night at 7:30. The Arkansas Learns Act is on the fast track and on the Senate floor today after a long day of debate in committee yesterday. Lawmakers and Arkansans weighed in on the bill and spent more than 2 hours trying to learn more about it.
I think it was very constructive. I think we had lawmakers on both sides of the aisle asking good questions and not necessarily in opposition to the legislation, but just trying to get some clarity for superintendents, teachers, principals, and parents back home.
Still, Democratic State Senator Greg Leading says he would have liked more time to work on the 144-page bill, which just became accessible to the public on Monday. He says Arkansas Democrats actually support most of it, but they're concerned about plans to implement it. A lot of debate has been centered around school choice. Republican State Senator Breanne Davis, lead sponsor of the bill, is adamant Arkansas Learns will benefit public schools.
Of the spending in this bill, over $250 million are going directly to public schools.
With the bill's third reading on today's Senate agenda, it looks likely to be headed to the House early next week. And speaking of education, a school in New Jersey is making its mission to teach students how to separate fact from fiction. At 12:16, we're taking a closer look at the first of its kind program focused on information literacy. Nathan?
And the spring fever that we have been experiencing over the past several days is about to come to a dramatic end. A cold front is making its way through the state right now, and it will bring in much colder temperatures and the chance of rain on your Friday. More on that forecast next.